do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens.
Detained?
Or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and if we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
we have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. Thank you for being here. You know, Michigan's a border state, so we need each other. We have a very big bridge that's being inaugurated, ribbon cut in September. We need that to be fully staffed. We have a lot going on in Michigan as a northern border state, so we need each other. But what I'm concerned about is that you've taken the mandate to close off the border beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I work my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, you know, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens.
Detained?
Or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and if we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
we have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But it's hard to imagine
a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. This Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when my colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has, you sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
have been deported. If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them. So let me ask you another question about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut
the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity.
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting CISA
back
on mission.
You can't say that this is the most
cybersecure. To be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cybersecure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
and if you look on record, that's what you've cut.
This exchange between Rep. Elissa Slotkin and Governor Kristi Noem is one of those rare moments where the heart of democracy, accountability, due process, and constitutional rights comes face-to-face with executive power. Slotkin, drawing on her background as a CIA officer and national security professional, frames the debate in stark terms. Protecting the homeland does not mean shredding the very rights that define it. She makes it clear from the beginning, no one disputes that illegal entry into the United States is a crime, and yes, enforcement is part of sovereignty. But the issue here is not whether immigration laws should be upheld, it's about the way they are being enforced, and whether in that process, the rights of legal immigrants and even U.S. citizens are being violated. Slotkin directly challenges Noem with reports that American citizens, including children battling cancer, have been deported. The governor responds by saying it was their choice to leave with parents under deportation orders, but Slotkin pierces that defense. What choice does a child have when their parent is forced out? That's not choice, that's coercion dressed up as policy. This is where the tension comes alive. Slotkin warns that sloppy or politically motivated enforcement sends a chilling message, not only to immigrants who have followed the rules, but also to citizens who suddenly realize their rights may not be as protected as they assumed. She reminds us of something fundamental, habeas corpus. That ancient legal safeguard, written into the U.S. Constitution, prevents the government from locking people up or removing them without due process. It is not, as Noem suggested, a privilege that a president can casually grant or withhold. It is the bedrock of American freedom. What's striking here is how Slotkin blends her national security expertise with a human perspective. She speaks as someone whose own family fled environments where people disappeared without due process, where the government could seize you off the street without rights or recourse. That is not supposed to be America. And yet, in her words, that's the dangerous overreach she sees happening under current deportation practices. This exchange also touches on the broader hypocrisy in budget priorities. Slotkin presses Noem about slashing nearly $500 million in cybersecurity funding, money states depend on to protect local governments, elections, and infrastructure. Noem claims the administration is simply realigning resources. But Slotkin points out the obvious contradiction. How can you claim to be running the most cybersecure administration in history while cutting vital programs that shield states and communities from attacks? The big picture here is this. Slotkin is putting into words a fear shared by millions of Americans, that the fight over immigration enforcement is no longer just about border control. It's about whether constitutional rights apply equally to everyone, or whether they can be bent, blurred, or even erased for political convenience. This is not simply a policy debate, it's a moral one. It forces us to ask, what is America if not a nation that protects due process, that guarantees habeas corpus, that insists on the rule of law even when it's difficult or unpopular? Once you allow exceptions, once you allow the government to deport citizens or lawful residents under sloppy processes, the line between freedom and authoritarianism begins to blur. Slotkin's confrontation is more than just political theater. It's a civics lesson in real time. It's a reminder that democracy doesn't erode all at once. It erodes piece by piece, through mistakes, overreach, or dismissing the Constitution as optional. And her warning is simple. If it can happen to some, it can eventually happen to all. That's why this moment matters. It's not just about Michigan. It's not just about immigration. It's about whether America still holds firm to the principles that define it. If you believe democracy, due process, and constitutional rights should never be negotiable, then this is a conversation you cannot afford to ignore. Call to action. Let me know in the comments. Do you believe immigration enforcement should have limits to protect citizens and legal immigrants, or do you think aggressive policies justify the risks? And don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns of the moments shaping our democracy.